Welcome back to my channel for this week's Human Design Transit Report. So today is Monday, October 24th. And the transit that we're in today, I talked about in last week's transit report. So if you want to find out about that, you can go here and watch it because I always do them ahead. But if for some reason you really want to find out what's going on today, go ahead and watch that. And then the transit changes tomorrow on the 25th. At that time, the sun is going to move into the gate 28 and the earth is going to move into the gate 27. And that's what we're mostly going to talk about today. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. The gate 28. The gate 28 gets such a bad rap. I actually really like the gate 28. The gate 28 is defined in my chart. I know this energy very well. I actually have the whole channel defined. And so I'm happy to talk to you about it. So in traditional human design, the 28 is known as the gate of struggle. And in quantum human design, it's been renamed the channel or the gate of challenge, which is obviously much better than struggle. So struggle. So the really kind of disempowered expression of the 28 is that life is meaningless. It's victim consciousness. The gate 28 is on the spleen, and the spleen is the center for instinct, intuition, the immune system, and right timing. And all of the gates of the spleen are known as fear gates. And the reason for that is that they are connected to instinctual fears, right? Which usually are not present time. And so generally speaking, we usually can move through them fairly quickly when we can identify them. I talk to people a lot about this in readings, is help them to identify those splenic fears and how they can shift those around. The 28, known as the gate of struggle, is really, like I said, it's victim consciousness. It's the sense that, everything outside of you is bigger than you are, that you're just at the mercy of outer forces, whether that's other people or situations or your own mind for that matter, right? And you have this sense that you don't have agency and that you're, just kind of at the mercy of things, of what's going on around you. And I know this got really activated for a lot of people during the pandemic because, there were a lot of things going on that we did not have control over. And yet we always have command over our response to what's happening. And this is the point about the 28, because you can always take something that is happening and you can go, oh, that's challenging, right? Rather than going, oh no, I'm a victim of this. You can go, well, that's challenging, right? What am I going to do with that? So it's like, okay, how can I find the opportunity of what's this thing that's happening? And then even, can I turn it into an adventure? Now, the reason we can do this is that the 28 is in the knowing circuit. It's individual circuitry. And individual circuitry is here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's mutative. And it's on the leading edge of consciousness. And so the 28 is very much on that leading edge. And it can go into a place where it's like, oh, I feel really disempowered, right? Or you can empower yourself and go, wow, I'm on the leading edge. I can have really breakthrough ideas. I can help to influence, where we go as an evolving species. I have a role to play in that. And yeah, okay, it's challenging because, newsflash, it's challenging here on planet Earth these days, right? So yeah, it is. Challenges abound. But how are we going to respond to them? Can we find the opportunity in the challenge, and can we even turn it into an adventure? Because if you think about being on the leading edge, really the leading edge of anything, but the leading edge of consciousness, you're going into new terrain. You're going somewhere that you've never been before. It's the old Star Trek thing, right? Going where no one has ever gone before. And so that's going to be challenging in certain ways, but it can also be exciting and it can be adventurous. So really, these names are not so much about what happens to you, it's about your response. So struggle is really, it's optional in the sense that it's the attitude, right? It doesn't mean that we don't, especially if we're trying to bring about progressive change, right? It can feel like a struggle because it's like we're moving against like the old ways of being. We're moving against people who want to entrench the old ways of being and who are afraid of change, right? And that can feel like a struggle, but it can also be like, where's the opportunity in that? And part of it can be like, well, how can I connect with people who might be afraid of change, right? And are trying to keep change from happening, but guess what? Change is happening and change is going to continue to happen. It's not going to not happen, right? And so how can we actually align with people that we may not on the surface agree, but maybe deeper down we do? And that can be a real adventure. So the sun is lighting up this 28, right? And the sun is like what we're here to broadcast out into the world. So this is this energy that is going to be radiating, and you really get to have a choice here about what energy do you want to be radiating, right? Do you want to be radiating victimhood? Or do you want to be radiating, the person who can find their way through and find some kind of opportunity and a challenge and could even become adventuresome, right? So that's the choice that you're going to be having during this transit. Now, the Earth is moving into the gate 27. So the 27 is very different. It is in the tribal circuit, and it's in the defense circuit of the tribal circuit. And it is in the place where we're really looking at our close-in relationships. It's all about relationships. It's our close-in relationships because that defense circuit. So in traditional human design, the 27 is known as responsibility. And in quantum human design, it's known as accountability. But I always think of this as the mother-grandmother gate, right? Because this is that really nurturing, caring for kind of energy. And so you can see how there's this kind of responsibility that goes up with this, because this is really the part where we're looking at how are we taking care of the young ones? How are we bringing up the young ones, right? How do we have responsibility for that? How do we do that? How do we do that with as much love and care as we possibly can, right? It also has some energy for caring for the elders as well. I think the reason that it's been renamed as accountability in quantum human design is that this gate can also get codependent, right? This is the place where we can overfunction to over take care of people. So it can either be that we're like the kind of shadow aspect, the way I call shadow, which is where you're using the energy of some part of the chart in order to gain control or to manipulate other people or situations, right? So the 27 can go that way, right? It's kind of like the overbearing mother, right? Or the really demanding and father, right? It's that kind of an energy. It can be very strict. It can be harsh. And then there's the other part, which is like, oh, I'll do anything that you want. Like when you've got a really disempowered parent and a really strong child, like is pushing their parents around and they're like, okay, honey, anything you want, oh, sure. You want to draw on the walls? Sure. Express your creativity, whatever it is. Right. And so then there can have that disempowered part, but it can be very, very codependent. So whether you're the one who's more dominating in the codependent relationship or the one that is more shrinking and disempowered in that relationship. But this energy is really beautiful in its awakened or more empowered expression where you do have good boundaries, right? So you can be responsible, but you're also accountable to yourself. And you're also accountable to other people in the tribe because it's tribal energy to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself, that you're being accountable, which means you're not being too demanding or too overbearing, right? Or too harsh or whatever. But it also means that you're being accountable for taking care of yourself and not being a doormat. And so you're standing up for yourself and yeah, this is what I can do. This is what I can give. This is what I'm happy to provide. And this is what I'm not going to do. And it's not what I'm going to provide. Right. And this is one of those things that parents go through with their kids as they grow up and they become different ages. Like I'm in this conversation with my kid right now, who is now 21, but has had a chronic illness for a number of years and is really coming into adulthood kind of by the, side door and, looking at like, what's their responsibility? What's my responsibility? How do they become accountable for their stuff? How do I stay accountable for my stuff and not overfunction, which I kind of did when they were ill, but I don't know if it was really functioning, I kind of had to do that, but now I need to not do that. And so parents are, through the teenage years, it's a big time, and in the 20s, we're really negotiating those relationships. But it also happens, between different parts of the family. It can happen inside of couples. It can happen with other people who are around, and it can, frankly, happen with your friends, right? Or your coworkers, but it's, more the closer in relationships. So while the earth is lighting up that 27, you really want to be checking in for yourself about how are your relationships going, right? And you want to be responsible and you want to be accountable, right? And you want to make sure that you're taking good care of yourself and that you're showing up for yourself and that you're taking good care of others who are you around when it is your responsibility, and that you're not really over functioning to try to make sure that everybody's okay, because that also inhibits their ability to mature and to take on the things that they need to take on for themselves, right? So we're going to be grounding ourselves in this really beautiful, nurturing energy, but that has really clear, strong boundaries, and understanding about what's mine and what's not mine, and what's yours and what's not yours, right? So we're going to ground ourselves in that so that we can then meet the challenges that arise with this kind of buoyancy of having this kind of nurturing energy, and both that we're going to provide, but that we're also going to receive, because remember, everybody's going to be expressing this energy during this time, and that can help us move out of that kind of existential angst that 20 can get into, that sense of struggle, and move it more into, okay, I've got these resources of this nurturing energy that's going to help me to meet the challenges, find the opportunities, and even embrace them as an adventure. I also want to note that for most of this transit, not at the very end, but for most of this transit, which is going to go through Sunday, the Venus is also lighting up the 28, and the 28, and Venus in human design is all about values. It's also about beauty and sensuality. It's our divine feminine energy. But we largely think about it as values. And this is awesome, right? Because if we think about this 28 energy, which it could be struggle, or it could be challenge, or it could be opportunity or adventure, it's like, well, Venus is saying, okay, so what values are you going to choose? With this energy, which one are you going to take on and embody and express out into the world? And she's elevating up these different pieces, these different possibilities to the level of value. So it's not just an attitude, it's also kind of like really a sense of value about who we are, right? And so we've got a lot of energy going into that 28. The moon is here just today, but the moon's only somewhere for like a day or a few hours. So don't put too much energy into that. But with these two, it means the 28 is really being highlighted. And the question is like, which way are you going to respond to things that happen in life, right? Are you going to be like, oh boy, let's see what we can find in here? Or are you going to be like, oh shit, no, not another thing, right? And it's really up to you. And the Pluto is still in that gate 61, which is right up here, which is the beginning of the knowing circuit. And the nodes are still in the 1 and the 2, which are also in the knowing circuit. So I mention these because these can all be allies when you're working with that gate 28, which is also in the knowing circuit. So really bringing in those breakthrough ideas through that 61, allowing yourself to receive them and to find the real opportunity in that. And actually, we also have the 12. And so the 12 is also in the knowing circuit. And then the 12 is the channel. And Mars is lighting up the channel, right? So Mars is our spiritual warrior. And so he's lighting up that ability to express from super consciousness. And so that's there as well. Plus we've got the 1 and 2, which is about allowing and receptivity, and then about life purpose. So all of these are in the knowing circuit. And so this energy is going to be circulating around, and that's going to help you to be able to elevate your experience and your expression of that 28. Because it's being supercharged by your spiritual warrior, being able to channel the expression of super consciousness, your ability to receive receive from superconsciousness and your ability to be on purpose. All right, so we've got a lot going on in this knowing circuit during this transit, and I really encourage you to make the best of it, because like I said, that 28, I've really made my peace with it, and I have found that it has been a huge ally for me as I have kind of gone out into unexplored realms in my own life and have been partnering with other people who are exploring what are unexplored realms that we can be creating for the betterment of our world, for creating, more thriving ecosystems and more functional governance and more ways to communicate with each other and so on. So there's a lot of different possibilities there. All right. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.